Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today I am mad excited to talk to my good friend and your co-host with the most about a pretty fun Marge-centric episode. We're going to dive into that right now, but first, joining me as always, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
I am also looking forward to seeing how you remember this episode because, there's a lot of fun stuff in this one that I didn't quite remember, so it was a pleasure going back and seeing this one, but I guess that's the point of this show here is for us to dive in and talk about it. So let me throw it back to you after I stare at my notes so I remember what I'm supposed to call you. The man, the myth, the monster ballad. It is Miles.
Dude, honestly, I just because you said that, it reminded me, one of the coolest things I learned from the commentary is that anytime we see Otto air guitar in this episode, all the notes are accurate because once again, we've done this before, but this guy on the animation basically is a guitar player. So anytime they do Otto like air guitaring riffs, it like is actually finger accurate to if he were playing an actual guitar. Now, granted, so that's with 3 fingers, so you gotta give a little leeway for it being slightly different. But it's kind of cool that they actually take the time to focus on something that minuscule that like only a handful of people are probably ever going to notice.
Right, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah. This episode today we're talking about it's a Mad Marge, which is obviously a parody of the movie It's a Mad World, which if you are closer to our age, you have probably seen, but in its form of a remake, which is known as Rat Race. Pretty much the same exact concept of a film. There's a large sum of money. A bunch of zany characters are all on their way to collect it. In this case, the title just works really well for Marge's situation. This episode,
we had that episode with the cat burglar where they actually did the parody of the actual movie, the original one with the under the treasure buried under the giant T.
Yep, yeah, 100%. It seems like it's definitely a film. Even when we had Mike Reese on the show, I remember he brought it up, talking about it being like an influence or whatever, something that he had, used for this joke. And yeah, it definitely seems like it's a film. Well, first, it's like a really well-known movie. Mm. It's got a lot of stars in it. It's an ensemble cast. But it definitely
he's not
seems
talking
like
about
it's
Rat Race.
Yeah, no. Well, no.
There were a lot
like
of stars in that one too.
You should have bought a squirrel. Dude, actually, the weirdest thing, I don't even know if this would happen in the world today, but when I was a kid, I was at the mall, Northeast Mall, which is like right by where you live, actually. And they were doing the thing where like you'll have people at malls, or like back in the day, they'd pay you to like do random surveys or whatever. I did one of these, and it was actually for the movie Rat Race, and like they showed like this was like probably like close to a year before the movie actually came out. And they were showing me like clips of the film and asking me what my thoughts were and whatnot. So basically, I say all that to say that there's a good chance that I'm the reason that Rat Race sucks. Like, I probably ruined that film because my dumbass 11-year-old self was just like, no, we need less of that and more zany squirrels. But I still stand by I like that. I still stand by the fact that I like that movie. It's even the remake. But this episode, Mad Marge, back to what we were doing here, apparently, talking about The Simpsons, originally aired on May 14th in the year 2000. We get the chalkboard gag of, I cannot hire a substitute student, which seems unfair, just on, like, a level playing field. Yeah, honestly, if you can get a teacher, it seems like the right move. Love that. I love that. Seems like just such a Bart idea, though.
Yeah,
which is what's
thinking
fun about
outside
it.
the box, which he usually can't think inside the box. So it's funny.
It's better for him out there.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that true?
We also get the couch gag, which is actually the Simpsons running into the couch in their black and white animation form before we see a group of Korean animators come in and color them in. And I can say that with confidence because on the commentary track, they did in fact say that those were Korean animators that were actually regulars at the LA studio or the California offices, but they were originally from Korea. And those were actually people that worked on the show.
Okay, that makes me feel better about that.
Which, since I brought it up, I'll go ahead and say that this episode's commentary featured Mike Scully, George Meyer, Matt Selman, Steve Moore, and Larry Doyle, who is the writer of this episode. And this idea originally came actually because Drew Barrymore had apparently vocalized the fact that she was interested in doing an episode of The Simpsons. So they actually originally wrote this episode with Otto's girlfriend in mind to be Drew Barrymore. But somewhere along, Drew Barrymore did end up doing the show. It was not this episode. Somewhere along the way, they decided that Drew Barrymore would be a better fit to be Krusty's daughter. And they actually ended up bringing in Parker Posey for this episode, which is kind of cool. Parker Posey is a star in her own right. I don't know that she ever hit the heights that Drew Barrymore did, but she was she was in movies like Dazed and Confused and a lot of other films in the 90s. I'm not sure if she still acts or not, to be honest.
Wasn't she in Blade Trinity?
That sounds right. Probably should have checked that.
She wanted to bite Ryan Reynolds. Before Ryan Reynolds,
I thought that was Ryan. Didn't those two end up getting married? Now that I'm thinking about it, am I thinking of somebody completely different?
Are you thinking of Blake Lively?
No, I'm not thinking of her.
Well, now I have to know. We do this every week, but wasn't she the bad guy in the freaking Pussycat?
I'm thinking of Jessica Biel for what it's worth.
I'm talking about the bad vampire. The what was the Rachel?
She was in Blade Trinity, so we're gonna go ahead and say Danica Talos was the character's name.
Okay, so I got that part right.
She was also like the really like obnoxious actress in the fake movie within Scream 3.
Oh yeah! Oh man, trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
she was the bad person in that one movie with Rachel Lee Cook with the Pussycat Dolls. what movies? Oh my god, it was.
Was that? Oh my god, I don't know. Maybe this should be a best start everything, where we just get on IMDb and start searching for stuff.
I'm looking up her movies, but she's done so many that, and IMDb repeats movies after a while now. Whenever you're looking through filmography,
yeah, they made a lot of changes at IMDb that I have not cared for. Starting with the removal of message boards, like 10 years ago at this point. But you know what? I'm sure you're going to find that eventually. I'm going to go ahead and get moving on with this episode.
It was the late 90s. I'm going to figure this out. Keep going.
We open
Josie and the Pussycats. Boom.
I thought you just said that.
I said the Pussycat Dolls. That's a
my bad. I could have given you Josie and the Pussycat. My bad. Anyway, we open up this episode with the first line of dialogue being one that we hear so often. It's actually a doe. Which is weirdly delivered by a random kid that we don't know from Bart's elementary school class. It's Mrs. Krabappel is giving out video cameras, which is kind of funny, just like the camcorder style of these cameras that somewhat date this episode. And a kid drops it, says doe. As Miss Krabappel is explaining to the children, they need to be careful because in order to buy those cameras, the school board had to eliminate geography.
And they put a lock on the freaking globe. Oh no.
This globe will never spin again. Which that makes so much like less sense because that means you had to buy a lock and a chain like to cover up the globe. Like
it's in the budget, Miles, don't worry.
I guess so. I don't understand finances, I guess. That's my problem. Somebody
just took it off a bike outside of the school and put it on that because everyone always knew how to open all those freaking locks.
You can tell this episode came out in the year 2000 because Miss Krabappel has to tell the class that she doesn't want to see 30 Blair Witch knockoffs, which everybody groans in unison.
Man, that felt like such a dated joke. Like I was like, really? What? Okay, that's still a thing.
Yeah, honestly, it surprised me too. I've heard good things about the video game. I'd like to try that. We should work on that. But regardless, we see that all of the kids now on the bus are basically just recording each other. They're trying to come up with some sort of creative idea. Nelson goes to the classics of stop hitting yourself, but now on camera with Milhouse punching himself because of, basically Nelson making him. Bart videotapes Lisa and does a Discovery Channel exclusive of Inside Lisa's Nose. What will we find? Boogers or Nazi gold?
And he gets all up in there.
Lisa complains. Bart basically denies her complaint and requests to stop until Lisa points out that Bart sleeps with a Raggedy Andy, which calls for an immediate cut.
Cut.
Bart actually starts to videotape the driver Otto, and he asks him a real hard question for his career. Otto, a red traffic light means what?
Whoa, no time for brain teasers. Today is the day I asked my girlfriend to take a ride on the matrimony pony.
And we get like some Milhouse and the other kids being like, Otto's got a girlfriend. Otto's got a girlfriend.
That's right, I do.
I know you do, baby. Milhouse like still caught in the middle of that weird adolescent time where he has a crush on Lisa, but also thinks it's lame to have a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Otto, since when have you had a girlfriend?
We met in the summer of love, Woodstock 99.
Dude, this is such a timely joke for us. Once again, nailed it. Because HBO like just did a documentary covering Woodstock 99. And I'm not going to lie, it blew my freaking mind. Because like me in the year 2000, like the person I was, thought this looked like the most incredible place in the world to be. And it turns out that it was like basically a real life horror story. Like all the fires and like the robbing of the ATM, the expensive water, like all of that was very much the jokes they made in this episode about that were very topical at the time. And then oddly enough, topical now if you're reviewing this with us. But I cannot recommend that Woodstock 99 documentary enough. It was really, really interesting. I've watched it like 2 or 3 times now, actually.
I just remember in high school that anytime anybody went to like a show where it had multiple bands and it was a big event, everyone always complained about the $8 water bottles.
Sure, yeah. Well, this one was pretty famous for it, and the big joke here is Otto basically is caught on fire from the real life riots and fires that happened. Oh my god, great bit with the Red Hot Chili Peppers in that documentary, by the way. I won't spoil it for you, but you'll definitely appreciate it. Anyway, the Otto is literally on fire from these riots that are occurring, and he goes to get water to put himself out, and the lady tries to charge him $8, which again, even though he's actually on fire, he refuses to pay those ridiculous prices.
They set it up like he's having a moment with that lady where you think this is going to be his girlfriend for a second too, I feel like. And he's like, no way, man.
And then his actual girlfriend shows up with her expensive water to douse him out.
Mm-hmm. It's a match made in heaven.
Or at Woodstock 99. Either way. We actually cut back to Otto, who apparently has decided the best time to do this proposal is not only on his school bus, with a bus full of school children, but also while Becky is at work at her job, which is a fast food restaurant style with a drive-through. It's Der Crazy Kraut, which is like a fast food German place. And
exactly what it sounds like.
And Becky is actually the one working the drive-through window, to which Otto proposes to Poison's version of Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
You got Poison to play?
That's not quite here yet, but that does come back around. No, in this case, it's Otto is actually like proposing, but he basically interrupts his own answer, or her answer to him, because of this awesome guitar solo that's coming up.
And then we get
this solo is kick ass.
And that's when we get the fingering that is accurate to real life, according to director's commentary.
Exactly, yeah. Becky is like shouting over the music for Otto to turn it down.
Okay, but this better be worth it.
She points to her ring and is like, yes, I will marry you. And they actually kiss. Otto just says, cool.
What I don't understand is how is Bart the only one smart enough to be recording? They all have camcorders.
And Bart's the only. Yeah, I guess he had the idea first, and nobody else wanted to steal it. But no, you're right. Everybody would be recording in this situation. Yeah. I do like to that there is a lot. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead. I was gonna say that I was gonna talk about the wedding, but this is the proposal. We're not quite there yet.
There's a wedding in this episode,
apparently. And we cut to the Simpsons kitchen where Marge is opening an envelope and realizes it's an invitation to Otto's wedding, which she's very excited to see, especially with it being on such delicate tissue paper and a zigzag pattern. I have to interrupt too because interrupt myself to say that Marge had to interrupt Homer playing like the stab between your fingers game with a knife to use the knife to open the letter. Only Homer's version was he was stabbing himself in each individual finger over and over and over again because he kept missing. And then when Marge protests, he's like, "Relax! I didn't even hit your kitchen table."
No, his hand is bloody, and he holds his hand. I didn't hit your precious table. I used to do this all the time after this episode came out because I would explain the scene in such detail all the time, and I'd tell people, "Haven't you ever seen Alien, or was it Aliens, where when the androids playing the knife table? That's Aliens because he's playing it with Bill, isn't he?
I believe Bill that's Paxton. Correct. Yeah.
I used to explain this scene in great detail all the time, and I'd always walk around forevermore saying, "I didn't hit your precious table," and nobody knew what I was doing.
Well, Marge is excited when she does get the invitation to be cordially invited to Otto's wedding until she realizes that it's at 742 Evergreen Terrace. That's our address.
I told Otto he could have the wedding here. Hope that's okay.
You should have asked first, Bart. Weddings are hard work and cost thousands of dollars.
Hey, it'll be easy. You still got most of the stuff from Apu's wedding back there.
Including the elephants. And just like some random like decoration and whatnot. Marge does break down and agree that Otto can get married here. But Homer, you have to get rid of that elephant.
I mean, he's gotten rid of elephants before.
It's not going to be his first time.
Yep.
We immediately cut to the day of the wedding. Cars are arriving. Marge is kind of being neurotic, going through checklists and whatnot. And that list includes rice, which Lisa points out, "Mom, you're not supposed to throw rice anymore. Birds eat it, then their stomachs swell and they explode."
Why am I just learning this now?
And Bart grabs a bag of rice in his video camera and runs outside. Otto has a talk with his parents on his wedding day where we meet a very militarian Otto's father. "Son, your mother and I don't approve of this marriage as we have not approved of any part of your life to date."
"Well, the important thing is you came.
We're leaving.
Drive safe."
We also have a fun moment with Selma and Patty as they try to make Lisa one of them. But I love Selma's line here. "Always a bridesmaid, only occasionally a bride."
"Lisa, it's time you learned the truth about men.
They're pigs?
The bitterness is strong in this one."
And they like literally like suck her into them, and like there's like cigarette smoke and their just body like surrounding Lisa.
It's like the Homer meme in the bushes, but it's Patty and Selma.
Yeah, it's Lisa.
And Lisa doesn't want to be there.
Bart is going around getting people to have thoughts on the bride and groom, including Skinner, while he's taking a pee. Any words for the bride and groom?
"Not now, Bart. I'm trying to urinate."
You don't seem to be trying very hard. Which Larry Doyle, again, the writer of this episode, pointed out that he wanted everyone to know that he actually wrote that joke after he was 40 years old. Homer is already trying to get a piece of wedding cake when Lisa tells him that he can't cut into the bride and groom's cake. It's like a tradition or whatever. So Homer is unfazed. He gives Lisa the knife and then like pulls out like with this there's like great like James Bond style music playing during this scene, and Homer has this like concealed like foldable straw. He pushes it into the cake and like sucks out the innards of this cake, essentially leaving just like a limp pile of fondant. And he walks away casually.
He picks up one of the rose parts of the cake though and covers the hole that he made.
Yeah,
like it looks clearly obvious, but at the same time you're like kind of smart for Homer. But as soon as he walks off, the whole cake collapses.
And I believe he just tosses the straw away too, if I'm not mistaken.
What I enjoy about that moment is that he technically didn't cut the cake.
He got around it. It might be a loophole or a straw hole in this case, but it is definitely not a cut, and that's what matters.
Well, and you know, Miles, in weddings, everybody usually cries. Even the cake is in tears.
Well done, sir. Well done. And on that depressing note, we get to our actual like catalyst for story here. What's really going to drive the plot of this episode? And that Becky is starting to have some second thoughts or some cold feet, you might say. But fortunately, Marge is there to be supportive. Oh, Becky, you look so beautiful. I thought you might like to see this bridal magazine. It's got 900 tips for the perfect marriage. All don'ts.
Oh, we'll be fine. Otto's got a clean police record, and he doesn't do any needle drugs.
And can you ask for any more, ladies, really? I mean, honestly. Well, the real key, according to sexperts, is mutual interests.
No prob. We like the same things. Except...
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell Otto, but I'm not into heavy metal, and he loves it.
And this is
to our lovemaking as the headbangers ball.
And obviously, this is going to be problematic with what we know about Otto is basically
the only thing we know about Otto.
Yeah, really, it's like that and pot is pretty much it. Oh, you can fix little defects like that with gentle nagging. Make it part of the background noise of your relationship. That's how I polished Homer into the perfect. Homer, don't lick that. That's ice. And he actually like has to like rip his tongue away from it, but then he again just walks away casually.
There is a piece of tongue on that ice that you can clearly see for the rest of that scene.
Yep, 100. The ceremony is about to start, and Lovejoy has a few kind words for Otto. And now, as for the matter of my honorarium.
What?
You know my emoluments.
Huh?
Pay me $300.
300? I could have gotten Rick Dees for that.
We cut to the wedding. The organ starts to play the wedding march, but Otto actually stops that and gets a poison-looking band. It's actually a cover band named Anthrax, I think it was. No, that's an actual real band. Cyanide. There you go. They start playing Nothing But a Good Time. To which we see a cool image, actually, where it's a POV from Becky as she's unplugging the electrical cord to stop the musician, and she's visibly upset. You got poison to play at our wedding?
We're Cyanide, a loving tribute to Poison.
I love the drummer, and we need a ride home. Becky's upset.
You walk down the aisle to a monster ballad?
And Marge is like kind of trying to intervene and says, "Let me talk to Otto."
Oh, that's okay. I guess this is sort of our song.
Again, she's becoming more and more upset. Marge is trying to save the day. Well, it doesn't have to be. Otto's just going to have to decide what's more important, his heavy metal or you.
Deuces.
And we immediately cut to the school bus taking off with Cyanide on the bus, rocking out. Becky standing behind. Marge is obviously upset at this point as well because she feels like she's to blame. And Becky's like crying in her wedding dress, and Homer comes out and is like, in about 15 minutes, I'd take off that wedding dress or you're going to look pretty crazy. And
Homer has a lot of really good, quick one-liners in this episode. Like, so many more than I remembered.
This is a fun episode for Homer just because he just kind of is doing his own thing. And these like zany little moments with him, like where like he doesn't have an agenda. He doesn't really have any stakes in this episode. like the highest his stakes get are like, I want that cake, but I can't cut it. What do I do? Like like these kind of silly situations that it's fun to see Homer in is pretty cool. And that's actually how we end our first act, I should say, with Becky crying, Marge feeling to blame, and Homer just quipping along through the day. We still have Bart's video camera as a setup, of course, and we are now fully loaded to really get into what this episode is going to be about.
Woo!
We open our second act with the wedding guests leaving. Lisa is kind of like monitoring this whole situation, and she sees Mo, of all people, walking out with a stack of presents, and she's like, "Hey, Mo, can I give you some shrimp for the road?"
Nah, I'll just take the ring pillow and these 7 presents I brought. Hey, you know what? Cram some shrimp in too.
And Mo, there's great animation here. Mo actually has like his mouth just like gaped open, and Lisa starts to like gently stack in a line, like 4 shrimp,
head to tail. That way you can fit more.
He's right. She can. She inverts a few and is able to do a whole second layer.
How about some sauce?
It wouldn't be a shrimp cocktail without the sauce. I mean, exactly. That's just part of the recipe.
Thank.
Mo's voice here, and Hank Azaria, credit to him. Like they didn't talk about it. He wasn't part of it. I would have actually liked to know, was this just him pretending to have something in his mouth, or did he actually put something in his mouth to deliver this line?
I think the Simpsons, they ordered shrimp that day, and then
yeah,
with 7 shrimp in his mouth and cocktail sauce.
The whole Simpsons clan is trying to make Becky feel better. Again, Homer is not doing as good of a job as the rest of the family, because like he says, for instance, yes, better now to have this happen than when you're too old and fat to get another man.
I feel so alone. What am I going to do?
Bart immediately, without consulting Marge again, offers up the Simpsons house. Why don't you stay with us?
Bart, remember that talk we had about you volunteering our house?
And probably my favorite line in the episode, I'm calling it early, Homer then immediately turns to Marge and is like, do you remember the talk that we had about you not wrecking people's weddings?
That was kind of like mean, the way Miles emphasized certain words. Homer wasn't quite that.
He emphasized, I think, the same words I did, sir. Maybe not as harshly, but it was hilarious.
Miles really went to town on that one.
Swinging for the fences, man.
But then Marge just grumbles.
Yeah. It's settled. The stranger stays with us. Yay! As Marge continues to grumble in the background. We get maybe the darkest part of this episode, by far the darkest part of this episode, actually. When Homer is outside working under the station wagon, I think he's changing the oil, and he's literally singing David Bowie's Changes as he does it. Bart comes out with his video camera and is recording this and starts to add his own narration to it, I should say.
A man innocently changes his oil when a 2-ton car comes crashing down.
Whack! Quick! Whack! Whack! Bart is like literally trying to kick the car off its jack so that it would come crashing down on Homer.
Crashing down.
He keeps trying, and he's giving it every bit of effort that one could possibly do, and it's just not falling.
Oh, who would have thought you could hold up a car with a wicker basket?
We pan out to see that the jack that Homer is using is not a jack. It is, in fact, a wicker basket, and I guess the well-woven weaves of that structure just was exactly what you need to hold up a car while it's being kicked.
Nice alliteration there, Miles.
Thanks, man. We cut inside to see Marge and Becky are making dinner, and Marge is just, I guess just kind of explaining
the ropes.
Yeah. Lisa's going through this phase where she doesn't eat any meat, so I usually just sneak a little meat juice into her vegetables. So fucked up.
Wow, you're a real live Martha Stewart. I mean, without the evil. May I?
And she tries Marge's gravy.
What? Yummers.
Nobody's ever called my gravy yummers before.
It'd be really nuts? A little rosemary.
Ooh, I've always wanted to use rosemary in something. I love how excited Marge gets about spices, man. It makes sense. Spices are dope.
A true story.
We cut to the dinner table where everybody is noisily crushing through dinner. Everyone's like complimenting the meal. Mom, this gravy tastes better than God's sweat.
Thanks to our own Spice Girl, Becky.
Lisa tries to bring it back to Marge again. Well, Mom, you really brought out the mung in these beans.
Actually, that was Becky too.
We get our first, what seems like it might be a complaint, which is Homer saying, what are these things in the mashed potatoes?
That's the skins. I left them on.
And Marge tries to cover, well, nobody's perfect. Let me just pick those out.
Whap!
Homer gets like very defensive of his potatoes and is like literally hugging the plate, saying, no! Oh, Becky, your potatoes are the best I've ever had.
He says it almost in like a sexual way, though. Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's like a drooling aspect to it. Yeah. You're right. Marge is then, of course, it kind of started out positive. We can see there's just little bits of jealousy and concern building up between Marge and Becky, which gets very escalated in the next scene when Marge sees Becky kicking Bart in the backyard. Stop kicking my baby!
Oh, it's cool. We're just putting some Jackie Chan moves into Bart's video project.
Yeah, Mom, I need something great. Milhouse has footage of himself falling down the stairs.
Well, no kicking. It's too dangerous.
Marge, chill out. I have great control. See? And she's like literally kicking like an inch in front of like Marge's face repeatedly.
Yeah.
That's very impressive, but I still don't.
Yeah.
Stop that.
I don't know why I enjoy that animation.
It really is good. Marge's frustration with it, the whole thing is really good. And it's another scene that reminds me of the joke in Friends where it's a Joey and Chandler bit where he's like right in his face, not touching, can't get mad, not touching, can't get mad, which has just always been one of my favorite sitcom bits.
You learned something about Miles today. Welcome to Best Darn Diddley.
Marge is doing laundry when she gets distracted by some noises coming from Lisa's room. It kind of sounds, I don't know, like maybe a struggle is occurring of some sort. But it turns out that it's actually Becky painting to Lisa's saxophone playing, or as Lisa puts it, we're jamming, Mom. She's painting my music and I'm playing to her painting. Isn't it wonderful to have a hip female influence in the house?
Oof. Yes, well, I guess I'll go roll socks. It's not hip, but it has to be done.
Actually, you could just tie them at the ends. That way the elastic doesn't wear out.
Yes, I hate when things wear out their socks. Welcomes.
I hate when things get worn out, like socks or welcomes.
You don't know. I read the script the way that I want to. You read it the way that you want to.
Yeah. Honestly, that's very 2021. We can't even agree on like what the basis of the foundation of his words are. Yeah, that tracks actually. Marge decides to go and have a talk with her sister. She's obviously been a little bit upset by the Becky situation with that very not subtle hint about her welcome being worn out. And Marge is almost like doing some therapy here. She's so helpful and everyone loves her. And well, this may sound crazy, but I think my family likes Becky more than me.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Really?
Oh, apparently Krusty's here.
That was Patty after smoking Krusty brand cigarettes.
Yeah, you're going to be dead in a week anyway.
Patty says, I wouldn't worry about that. And Marge says, really?
Yeah, you're going to be dead in a week anyway.
Dead in a week? What are you talking about?
Look, honey, never let an attractive woman into your house. All they ever do is usurp your family and then kill you.
Which this word usurp comes up here and later. And on the commentary, they even were like, yeah, I don't know why we thought that word was so funny at the time. But
I mean, apparently I enjoyed it.
It's a good word. It's a good word, yeah. Oh man, I'll come back to it. It's fine. I missed something in the commentary, but it's not that important. It'll be great. A great little fun fact for the end. So Selma talks about the documentary, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
That was a movie.
Look, we all know she's going to shoot you or stab you or boil you.
Or club you with an antique wooden doll.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
But first, she's going to seduce your husband.
Becky's going to seduce Homer?
It's an act of violence, not love.
So clearly, her sisters have gotten in her head because Marge is like not sleeping. She's tossing and turning in bed. She's actually woken up startled because she sees Becky's shadow holding a gun. But it was just her returning her hairdryer.
And she also returns a brush, which looks like a knife in the shadow.
Yeah, it was like at first there's a shadow over the gun, and she's like, "Oh, it's just your hairdryer," and then it was the knife, and it's like, "Oh, it's just your brush." And I guess
she's
Marge
really going crazy.
Yeah, Marge is losing it. She's mad at this point. We still have more mad to come though.
What about Marge?
We'll see. The next morning, we actually see Marge is going grocery shopping. And Becky is like, just enjoy your shopping trip, Marge. And if you pick up some semolina, I can make couscous for Lisa.
It's my favorite.
It is.
Oh, yeah. You can learn a lot from your kids if you just listen to them.
And like she gives like an affectionate pat to Lisa. And you can see that one really irked Marge a lot. She's like, be right back.
And it's because Lisa responds to the pat, too. Like, Lisa is overjoyed and happy.
Homer's like, take your time, which is not great. Again, if Marge thinks, like, because they're being very, like, friendly with Becky right now, and Marge is clearly getting jealous.
Mm-hmm. But don't worry, she'll have a great comeback.
Yeah, as she's driving down the street, she's, like, doing the thing where she's like, oh, man, these are all the things I should have said, and she comes up with, shut up, Becky.
It makes her feel better, though, when she says it.
Up until the point where she sees a stoplight and it pushes the brakes and they are not working. And it has, for some reason, her car has a brakes cut line.
Yeah, it tells you exactly what the problem
is. She runs through the red light where we actually see the classic bit where it was two guys carrying a sheet of glass. But we don't get what you'd expect. And in case it just knocks it flat and the glass is perfectly fine.
Oh, man. Some strong glass.
Later, we see the world's largest speed bump as Marge just goes, is approaching that. It's like this giant mound of concrete. And there's like an elderly couple, like visiting, sightseeing or whatever. And like, I love the old man is basically like, seems like the one in our city is bigger. Marge just goes crashing through it. And he's like, and they're stronger too.
Yeah. Why isn't Marge honking her horn here? Is her horn cut too? I mean,
yeah, the brakes and the horn were both cut.
Yeah.
We actually see that Marge is apparently at the police station now, trying to file a report with. Yeah, I was going to say she's arrested, but then I was like, not yet. We're ahead of ourselves.
Man, we are spoiling this episode left and right, Miles.
Maybe.
Keep your composure.
I don't know, Simpson. How do you know? I know you didn't cut your own brakes?
Why would I do that?
I don't know. Get some attention from a handsome police officer?
That's crazy. Look, I know I don't have any proof, but this woman is trying to kill me.
Well, fine. Let me tell you what I tell everyone who comes in here. The law is powerless to help you.
Do I have to be dead before you'll help me?
Well, not dead. Dying.
Well, maybe when Marge gets up to walk away after Wiggum says that, and
Wiggum's trying to compromise. No, don't walk away. How about just show me the knife in your back? Not too deep, but it should be able to stand by itself.
Very specific.
We check back in with Homer, Becky, and the kids who are at Phineas Q Butterfat's ice cream parlor. I don't get that joke. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm sure it is a joke.
Butterfat.
Yeah. No. I don't get. Come on, Becky, tell us your big news.
Well, I wanted to wait for your mother, but okay. I found an apartment and I'm moving out.
Homer Homer says what we're all thinking. He says, I think I speak for all of us when I say, when's the ice cream going to get here?
Right, and like to the credit of everybody in all the scenes with Becky and Homer, like Marge just played all this up in her mind, but like I feel
Very
like Homer,
innocent.
yeah, Homer's never even thought twice about it. So like I'm glad they at least did it that way.
Yeah, no, they definitely protected that that
The sanctity
relationship.
of marriage.
This is 100% in Marge's head for the point of this episode.
Well, we think.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, I guess we haven't gotten to the Satanism yet. Let's keep going. We actually see this like very big presentation. Gather ye 2 of every flavor, anoint them with 62 sauces, whipped cream and nuts, and ye shall call it the Ark. And we see 6 employees carrying a giant boat-shaped bowl of ice cream out to the Simpsons table. Homer actually like collapses into it. Worried Becky's like, Homer!
Oh, don't worry. He's just gorging.
But then after a few more minutes or seconds, Bart's like, I think.
Suffocation by ice cream. That's the way to go, Miles.
Well, it turns out that Homer is actually like drowning or choking in this ice cream. He's not breathing is what's happening, and he loses consciousness, and Becky actually has to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which of course, instead of coming in at the point where Becky's like, I got an apartment and I'll be moving out soon, this was the part that Marge walks in on and
That's
immediately is like, usurper!
I enjoyed
that.
But she's got a handful of freaking employees standing in her way, Miles. I don't know how she's going to get out of this one.
Like the employees of this ice cream sundae parlor become like henchmen in a bad like kung fu movie all of a sudden. But Marge warns them that I've got jimmies, and she throws like a handful of sprinkles into these guys' eyes.
I can only see a horrible rainbow.
She then takes a giant ice cream cone, like ceramic thing or glass thing, and breaks it off like ghetto bar fight style, where you break the beer bottle. And she runs up and she finally gets to deliver that great line she thought of. Shut up, Becky. There, I finally said it.
But then she still wants to swing the ice cream at Becky.
And she's like got like Becky cornered, like, and like anybody who would walk into this sequence would like very clearly realize that Marge was the crazy one in this situation. Like, or, like it definitely seemed that way, I should say. And that's what happens when Wiggum walks in with Marge holding Becky in the corner with this like broken glass cone. Well, drop the cone, sugar.
Whoopsie.
Lou accidentally fired and the shot right past Marge and Becky, but no harm, no foul. Take her away, boys.
Marge is in cuffs, not for the first time.
I love this next joke, too. Marge is protesting.
I thought you said the law was powerless.
Powerless to help you, not punish you. Earned my treat, and he takes some ice cream. I love the powerless to help you, not punish you so much. Though. That's great.
This isn't over, Becky. I know where you live. My house.
And Marge being taken away in cuffs is how we end our second act. And we start act 3 in the courtroom proceedings to see what's going to happen. Marge is actually, sitting in front of a tribunal, it says, of 3 psychologists who are trying to determine her sanity. We have Becky, Lisa, Maggie, Bart, and Homer all sitting behind her and talking about... I love Lisa's line here, too. Poor Maggie. How many insanity hearings have you been to in your short little life?
Mr. Simpson, before we begin, I just want to assure you that this is not a trial. Oh, right, it's a trial.
And all the psychologists get excited and high-five each other. Now, Marge, according to this, you recently went berserk in an ice cream parlor.
Yes?
And Marge, did you ever have an unhealthy fixation on Ringo Starr?
It was healthy. He reciprocated. He reciprocated.
And this is where Marge starts praying, and I just remembered that, no, this is my favorite joke in this episode. Marge starts praying, and the psychologist interrupts. Excuse me, what are you doing?
Oh, I was just praying to God that you'll find me sane.
I see. And this God, is he in the room right now?
Oh, yes. He's kind of everywhere.
And the psychologists start to exchange looks with each other. Marge Simpson, you give us no choice but to declare you utterly insane. You didn't let me finish. Insane. But Marge is not taking this lightly. She actually decides that instead of taking her sentence, she is going to flee. So she runs and jumps out of the window. Luckily, it's a first floor window.
Yeah, they make it look like it's this big high up window, and she rolls out the window and then just stands up, and it's like, I'm not insane. And then she takes off.
Yeah, she declares it one more time. Homer's very supportive of his spouse. Run, Marge, run! Pump those crazy legs! And that's when we cut to a live broadcast from Kent Brockman.
Police say escaped mental patient Marge Simpson could be anywhere.
And then the camera he raises his glasses and the camera pans out to see that he's basically at a wet t-shirt contest. Basically somewhere between a Hooters and a strip club.
She could be anywhere. Even here at Juggernauts, where it's wet t-shirt month.
All month long.
But for now, this reporter prays that Mad Marge can be captured before she kills again.
Bart's kills again? She hasn't even killed once.
Shouldn't we be out there trying to find her?
Don't worry. She'll show up here sooner or later to finish off Becky. Then we'll have Mommy back.
Homer's drinking beer, but it's an interesting scene because Maggie's on Becky's lap right now, and it's the whole painting. It looks like she's trying to take over the family.
I need to do a quick something from the commentary real quick that I just thought was really great. I mentioned Larry Doyle was the writer of this episode. He also wrote the episode Pymolian, which we reviewed a few weeks back. And in that episode, Moe's girlfriend, one of the women in that episode, Titania, actually worked at Juggernaut. So, and Larry Doyle wrote both of those episodes. So, there's actually a little bit of continuity in these two episodes that he wrote for this season.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta love it. We see that Marge is now sneaking around the streets of Springfield, still wearing her orange prison jail jumpsuit or whatever. She steals some clothing off of a clothing line, and it turns out to be comic book guys.
Well, no. Hold on. First, she jumps in line with a marching band.
I thought that was after. Maybe I'm tripping.
No, because they're all wearing orange, like her jumpsuits.
That's right.
And they have tall blue hats.
Yeah, that's it.
So she falls in line. But the funny part is they're a marching band for the insane asylum. So they literally walk her into the asylum and close the gates.
And she has to hop back over the fence, which makes you wonder, okay, so Marge has escaped from court. She's escaped from the mental asylum. Not a lot of great security, it seems, in Springfield.
That makes a lot of sense with the townsfolk. You
are right, though. That's when she actually steals the comic book guy's shirt and prescription pants.
Those are prescription.
And then we see a moment between father and son as Chief Wiggum is giving his son Ralph some advice. Now what do we do if we see Marge running out on the streets?
You shoot the bad guy. I don't remember what he says.
He's you shoot the crazy mommy. And he's actually holding Wiggum's gun. And Wiggum's is good, Ralphie, but make sure you aim a little higher. That's a kill shot. And would you believe it if I told you that according to the commentary that apparently the ratings board had a little issue with that scene, Richie? But the Simpsons largely ignored it.
And is this when we cut to the Patty and Selma show?
This is when we go to the Krusty the Clown show, is it? Oh, fucking you. I got it. Good callback, dude.
Now, We've got a special guest. She just flew in from the cuckoo's nest, and boy, is she crazy. Crazy Marge Simpson!
And they do the thing we talked about when we did our Conan O'Brien tribute, where it's like Marge's face, but the mouth is not moving right. It's like somebody else's mouth, like photoshopped in on her face. Hello, Krusty.
That's funny. So, Marge, who's your favorite Native American warrior?
Crazy Horse. Woo!
And I think like all the kids just aren't even responding.
No one's reacting at all, except for Krusty.
I think I was the only kid at the time that knew who Crazy Horse was because I'd been to his little mountain thing. All right, stop it. This bit's dying. Let's go to the Mad Marge dancers.
And we see a group of women, or a group of dancers with straight jackets on, who all have like Marge masks, and they're dancing around, like bumping into each other.
I don't know. Watching them bump into each other made me laugh. It's so stupid.
Homer, Bart, and Lisa and Maggie are all watching at home, and Bart's like, too soon.
Oh, I really miss Mom.
The kids are saying if you say Bloody Margie 5 times, she'll appear. But then she gouges your eyes out.
I hear she mates with men, then eats them.
Becky comes in and interrupts this and turns off the TV. I'm sure if Marge were here and not crazy, she'd be telling you two to do your homework. And Homer, she'd be telling you to finish washing the dog.
Oh.
Great visual where like the back half of Santa's Little Helper is like groomers quality, like complete with a bow clean. Yeah. And then the front half of Santa's Little Helper is the mangiest mutt you've ever seen.
I want to point this out. Were you starting to slip into a Marge voice there?
I did almost do. Yeah, very early, and I caught myself. Good catch. Like the first, maybe second syllable were Marge there. Yeah.
I heard that.
We see Marge back on the lam over here running around Springfield, and she actually goes to the library where I love the sign. It says, we have books about TV, which they said that at the time. Yeah, they said that at the time that was like less depressing of a joke than it is under today.
Yeah.
Like when they were recording it, and that's like 13 years ago from now. So. We get Marge going through the microfiche, which is something that I don't even think they have at libraries anymore. Maybe I know that at some they've been removed. Maybe they still exist other places. But it's like where you can actually go and look at like old like newspaper articles and whatnot. You see it used a lot in movies, especially like thrillers and whatnot.
Yeah. Nowadays they just upload that stuff to the internet where you can look at it all you want to.
Which is why it's dying. Yeah, 100%. Marge is going through all these headlines like local girl kills, then and she's looking up Becky specifically. Local girl kills, but then the subheadline is competition in the talent contest.
Oh.
The best one, another callback, is usurper foiled again. By Becky.
Oh, I really should read the whole headline before I react.
And then the last one she sees is Dream Wedding Botched by Meddling Housewife.
Oh my, I've been so unfair to Becky. Maybe I am insane. I mean, I am talking to myself.
And then it pans out to see that right next to her is Mole Man. You are? Oh, I thought I'd made a friend.
Of course he hangs out at the library. Oh,
in the microfiche section. Marge has decided that she is going to go home and make all well. She is going to apologize to Becky. But when she arrives in her living room, she seems that it has been transformed into a dungeon and some sort of satanic ritual is being performed. Maggie's in a cage. The kids are chained to the wall, and Homer is on a slab table about to be stabbed in the heart. We don't see Bart. You're right. Homer is about to be stabbed through the heart on a slab of like concrete. And it's Becky who holds the knife.
Uh-oh.
Becky runs in, kicks the knife out of Marge's hand. It flies through the air.
Reverse that. Marge comes in.
Marge comes in, kicks the knife out of Becky's hands. Knife flies up, and ironically enough, probably puts Homer in the most danger he was in at any point during this entire sequence. because it lands right next to his head. It actually like right on the tops of his hairs, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Cut. Mom, it's great to have you back, but you walked right into my shot.
Shot? What are you talking? What?
I hope we didn't. See, I did it too. It's forced about it. I hope we didn't scare you, Marge. Bart's just filming a music video for his class project.
And Lisa's holding up in this hand that we couldn't see that was chained to the wall. I'm directing the making of video. She has her own camera.
If it was a class project, why is Lisa doing a class project?
Good question. Yeah. That's just a thing that Lisa wants to do on her own.
I guess so. Oh, well, then I guess there's a reasonable explanation for everything. Except you cutting my brakes.
Oh, about that. When I changed your oil, I may have drained your brake fluid. I didn't say anything because I thought you'd be mad.
Oh, boy. My bad, Becky. I'm so sorry I accused you of trying to kill me and steal my family.
Hey, no biggie. I was trying to steal your family. I even thought of a good place to bury you. Then I didn't have a shovel. So I went to the hardware store and they have 6 different kinds. And I was like, later.
Well, that's a relief too, knowing I'm not crazy. So I guess everything really worked out for the...
And Marge is hit in the neck by 3 darts and falls to the floor. It reveals that it's the 3 psychiatrists that were interviewing her earlier. Homer is clearly upset. You monsters! You killed her! But no, Marge pops right up. Good Lord, we put enough tranquilizers in there to take down Jonathan Winters.
Oh, I've got too much to do to take a nap right now. Lisa, get Maggie out of that cage. And Homer, since you're dressed for it, I've got some S&M for you. Scrubbing and mopping.
She takes another dart to the neck, and it turns out that this time it was Homer who took the tube and shot his wife.
And then he hands it back to the psychiatrist and, thank you.
It's just such a great little like nonchalant thank you. Yeah. And also like I'm gonna need a few of these to keep around the house.
Let me get a little if he threw the straw away, he's got an open spot in his case.
That's accurate. Yeah, he's got a whole system in place for this. And that actually brings us to the end of our episode. It's a mad Marge. Richie, do you or that book of yours have anything else to say?
I actually really enjoyed this episode. Like I remember it being a decent episode, but I thought Otto was in it a lot longer when it's been so long since I've seen this one. And I remembered that the episode was about Becky and not Otto, obviously by the end, but like I thought it would be funny. I didn't think it would be quite this funny, but I like very, very much enjoyed this one. It kind of caught me off guard a little bit with how fun it actually was and how funny on top of that. So yeah, it was a fun episode and it was a whole lot fun to review with you today, man.
Yeah, agreed, man. And for me, this was a weird one. I think it's kind of the same thing that you're saying, but like, I didn't really remember this episode. I just remembered a lot of the gags from this episode. I remember things like I remember the dungeon sequence. I remember Homer sucking the innards out of the cake, but I didn't necessarily tie all that together. And I legit had no recollection of the Otto being like Otto's bride part of this. Like all the parts I do remember had to do with like Marge like being jealous of the other woman type of thing. But I enjoyed all of it, reviewing it back.
Yeah.
Very cool to see Marge having a strong outing too. Anytime we have a Marge centric episode, I know sometimes it depends on how it goes sometimes. You know, they're not always the strongest episodes, but this one definitely was up there on the list for sure.
And I think a real smart thing by the writers is that they made Becky admit that she was trying to do it at the end, but they kind of just like laugh about it and gloss over it. But
yeah, very casual.
That extra little add-on at the end kind of alleviates Marge of wrongdoing because she was technically right. So like I thought that was a very sly and clever way to basically get a reset without having to include the psychiatrist except for the blow dart part to give us a little
Marge doesn't even need therapy. She's good.
Yeah, exactly. She's right all along. But yeah. I thought that was but it also makes it funnier that like Becky's been sweet and helpful the whole time, but like, oh, I was trying to, but I couldn't find a shovel, so later. It was funny to me.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like, and just like that's like such like a like that like auto generation, that meh generation. She's like very much like a Gen Xer, I would say. And just like that, like I was gonna, but it was hard. So meh.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, it's about murder, which is funny. So thing I missed earlier, the Cyanide band, they actually reached out, tried to get a hold of Bret Michaels to do that role, and they unfortunately were not able to get him. This was like post, like when he was really big with Poison, and like pre when he made his like comeback with like Rock of Love or whatever. So I think it was just like, whatever. He used to watch every episode. It still cracks me up that one of the strippers in Evil Bong was a contestant on that show. Like that just blew my freaking mind. But it was like, and if you look her up on IMDb, or at least at the time, Evil Bong and Bret Michaels' Rock of Love were her only credits.
Oh my gosh. Oh, is that the one that came out as a Nazi?
Oh no.
Was that Tila Tequila?
That was Tila Tequila? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was the person that did that. Oh.
No, this was Brandy C or Brandy. There's like multiple Brandies.
Her name,
she was one of the Brandies. She was one of the Brandies, I'm pretty sure. So the last thing I have to say from the commentary on this one is they talked a lot about how this episode really featured a lot of misunderstanding and farce, way more than most of their episodes. And like on a like casual level, I think people might think that's really easy to do. But they talked about how it's actually incredibly difficult to write a lot of the times. And the writer, Larry Doyle, the writer of this episode, said by writing this episode, it actually made him gain a lot of respect for scripts, like for shows like, for instance, Three's Company, where that's like literally all they do for like the duration of their show over and over again. And to keep it coming back fresh, unique. Like he said, even in this episode, like really the farce a lot of the times was like, oh, Bart's recording again. And they were able to just keep going back to that well. Yeah. But it's not always that easy. So I thought it was kind of cool that like the writer is like, this episode basically made me gain perspective on what other people do.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that will do it for this week's Best Darn Diddly Review show. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in, joining us for this journey through The Simpsons, the Golden Age, and beyond, and all the other bullshit we do now with Best Darn Everything.
Make sure you follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. You can follow myself at TheWiz_Kid23. But most importantly, as always, make sure you follow our show. That's at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
Up next, Richie and I have another Best Darn Everything in the works for you. And then, believe it or not, we are at the last episode of Season 11. The next time we come back to talk The Simpsons with you, we'll be discussing the last episode of Season 11, Behind the Laughter.
And if you do tune in to our show, I want to make it very clear that as Simpsons knowledge comes, we are powerless to help you, but not punish you.
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.